And welcome back to Healthcare Sucks. Excuse me, the throat thing's not good. Um, so listen to this guy. We heard him a little bit earlier. Uh, First, he's going to talk about the bonds. The bonds. Nothing about helping common folk or debt postponement from these guys either. And then listen to what he says, how greedy they are about the flights and the travel ban situation.
Yeah, there will certainly be an impact on the economy. You can already see that this morning. All the stock exchanges in Europe are down. The shareholders expect things to get worse, obviously. And the European Central Bank is meeting today to come up with some countermeasures, but there are limitations because the interest rates in Europe are already at 0.0, so the ECB might decide to buy more government bonds or more company bonds. But this is all very limited, and the Commission also established a fund to ease the impact of coronavirus, worth 25 billion euros yesterday.
Bernd, there is frustration, even anger over
Listen
this
to
travel
this.
ban,
This
but the
is the part.
WHO is calling for drastic measures. So is it time for the European Union to consider similar travel restrictions?
Well, the European Union as a whole is not convinced that travel bans are the right thing to do right now because the virus is already everywhere. So what sense does a travel ban make right now? But on the other hand, you have to say that the US is not the only continent doing that. Also Israel, India, and just recently Guatemala are banning people from Europe to travel to their territory. And also within Europe, there are travel bans in place. For example, Austria and Hungary stopped all travel from Italy to their countries, though this is a very mixed picture here.
All right, DW's Ben Riegert reporting there from Brussels. Thank you. DW's Nina Haza is following the latest developments on this story for us. Hi, Nina. Hi. This is a pretty big step from the White House. How is Europe reacting?
Oh, it is a huge step. And the EU's top officials have already slammed this decision. And they've said essentially that the coronavirus is a global crisis. It's not limited to any continent. It requires cooperation rather than unilateral action. This is what the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the EU Council President Charles Michel said in a joint statement as a reaction to that decision. And they were extremely unhappy about the fact that they were not consulted, or they were not even informed about this decision taken by the US president. And then Radek Sikorski, who's a member of the European Parliament and former Polish foreign minister, said on Twitter that I'm surprised that a possible British coronavirus is deemed preferable to an EU one. Playing politics, he said, with health is a bad idea. And that, of course, refers to that exemption for Britain by Donald Trump.
Okay, so we see that this is not really going down.
Let's hear what was really said.
From your travel ban, that your European travel ban you announced last night?
Well, they know, and I think it was made very clear last night who is and who isn't. And we'll be discussing that. We'll be discussing some of the moves that we're going to be making, and I think it's going to work out very well for everybody. But it's a world problem, and you do need separation in some cases. You have some areas that are very heavily infected, and you have some areas that aren't, frankly. But we do need separation for a little period of time in some cases.
Just saying that the president has excluded Ireland from the travel ban. And one of the things we have in Ireland is CBP, American Border Security in Ireland. Went through it myself yesterday, and they were asking the right questions, whether people had been to China, things like that. So that puts us in a slightly different position.
And one of the reasons UK basically has been, it's got the border, it's got very strong borders, and they're doing a very good job. They don't have very much infection at this point, and hopefully they'll keep it that way.
It seems to me that steps have to be taken at this point, guys, because it's out of control, and we have to do some things. And as far as I'm concerned, personally, if we have to shut down every airport, every train, every boat, so we see how crazy this thing's going to get, if it's going to turn Resident Evil. If you don't know what that term is, feel free to look it up. Because this thing's bioweapon, don't forget. So was Resident Evil. You hear a lot of whining out there between the governments and this and that and the other governments. Well, you know, everybody's going to have to pull the shorts up and dig into the little purses and help the people now. Instead of fat cats getting fatter, it's time to spread the wealth. And I put to the president again, at least 10,000 for the people under 100,000 right now. Cut the check, 10,000. Here's a gift card. Bam. Make it last. Go buy supplies. Bam. Immediately, guys. Immediately, like mailing it today. People in the 100 above that, up to 150,000 a year, 5,000, up to 200,000, 2,500, above 200,000. You know, it's a hell of a lot more money than most of us are ever going to see, guys. So if you're making that kind of money, you hopefully can weather it with the tax. You're going to get the huge tax breaks, tax postponements, that kind of situation. And where is, again, one more time, the Sanders, the OCD girls, including the squadrons, and all them that were like, oh no, the rich and we need to do this, we need to do that. You know what? They're lost, guys, because this is over their heads. I don't even think, even luckily the president has a lot of input. And again, he's worried about the stock market, but it's too late. That's done. The WHO has came out and called it a pandemic. So their little slush fund of virus bonds and monies. Aw, no bonus in June. I'm so sad for those people that we're going to make money off of people gambling on death. They do it all the time anyway, but this one was just disgusting. If I seem a little ridiculish today, it's because they're not thinking about us, guys. Number one, in addition to those cards with the monies, they need to full postponement of all debts immediately. If not, at least cut all debts down to a third right now. And if you get put in, and that's for everybody, period, across the board, at least till millionaire status. And then they can, again, they get the tax breaks. And then when you are put in quarantine, full debt postponement, period. Your house, your car, your credit cards. If you rent, your rent. And immediately issue, again, they should already be issuing the card anyway. And I think at the minimum, those cards should be $2,000 a month. Because you're going to be ordering stuff, not to be leaving the house. It's going to cost more. I'm really worried about people bringing stuff to the homes now that it's going to be too much for partial post, FedEx, Amazon, your local stores that deliver stuff to, and then there's taxi cabs which will run stuff too. If this thing is heading the way I feel it's going to be heading, at some point we're going to have trouble. That's why, as Team 99 guys, by the way, Team 99, we love you guys. And also, for you and your children out there, we love you too, because we care that you make it through this rough time. So be prepared. Don't be scared. One more time. Be prepared. Don't be scared. And that's the Wuhan Accord. Over and out. And healthcare sucks. Okay, enough of that. Gotta have a little humor now and then. If you hate that thing, let me know. If you love that thing, let me know. We're doing a vote. Keep him or get rid of him. Anyway, back to seriousness. I'm going to bring you some more to watch what these guys are doing. You be the judge. You let me know what you think. And by the way, you guys that are writing and stuff and giving me input, It's you guys that caught that I messed up on the Canada and Australia thing. Thank you. I was tired. And I'm a little sick, but I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I pushed through everything. Man, you guys got some great ideas and doing some stuff. I'm still trying to get a program for the computer like what Marfugel uses, where I can set that up and get that going. I might wing it, guys, any night now, the first time. So if it's rookie hour, I apologize. Here we go. Let's see what Boris is up to. Well,
We need a little separation until such time as this goes away. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. I was watching Scott this morning.
See, that's his mistake. That's his mistake. And I'm going on the record saying it right now. This super confident that it's going to blow over, things are going to be just fine, and, you know, that's because he wants the stock market to continue, but he doesn't get it through his head that this is not a monthly, a weekly thing. They were talking, his own CDC people were talking next year. Okay, it's January, February, March, and they're talking about still this thing being around next year. Yes, the squiggly little guy that we talked about, he came out and said next year. So, I mean, Trump's messing up, guys. He shouldn't be talking about certain things he has no idea what I mean, even with the input he's getting, like always, he's his own man. Love him or not, that's Mr. T.
And he was saying within 2 months. But, you know, in the meantime, we want to lose as few people as possible. So important. And what is the number as of this morning? Is it 32? You could tell me. Is it 32 deaths? See, it's around there. I mean, think of it. The United States, because of what I did and what the administration did with China, we have 32 deaths at this point. Other countries that are smaller countries have many, many deaths. 32 is a lot. 32 is too many. But when you look at the kind of numbers that you're seeing coming out of other countries, it's pretty amazing when you think of it. So that's it.
Irish citizens, will Irish citizens always be welcome to America?
Always, always.
And that's not the true numbers, guys. I have local and other distance, and I have people viewers from other states that have hospital workers that are saying they're just not being tested, and they've had deaths. Again, we had a death down the way, and they trying to say that the person bled to death. How do you bleed to death in a hospital? I mean, I can see you rupturing yourself because you have all these symptoms and you're coughing so hard you rip something. But how do you bleed to death? And a lot of the other deaths that are like these people in the nursing homes, and now it's coming out like up there in Washington that they do have it and it is spreading. Again, this is his major screw up moment. And this could very well cost him. Again, I try to veer from politics. But on the other hand, with the other side, they are screwing up. If you think that Joe is going to win over Trump, I do not see that. It's just personal opinion. You guys can give me your own opinions. I try to look at politics now from all angles. I think Bernie has a better shot. I'm not saying I swing with all of his opinions and everything, and giving away the United States is definitely not one of the things I am down for. But as far as, let's just say, gambling goes, okay? Oh, we're gambling here. Not like those virus bonds. But let's just say if we were doing odds in Reno, we got the three. Trump, Bernie, and Joe. I'd say Trump's a good 60% to get it. Bernie's got to be at... they're so close. I'd give him 32 and Joe 28. Let me know what you think. Again, I try to stay out of the politics. Here's somebody from another country. Check out what they're doing over there.
Virus COVID-19 continues and will continue to spread across the world and our country over the next few months. We've done what can be done to contain this disease, and this has brought us valuable time. but it's now a global pandemic, and the number of cases will rise sharply. Indeed, the true number of cases is higher, perhaps much higher than the number of cases we have so far confirmed with tests. I've got to be clear, we've all got to be clear, this is the worst public health crisis for a generation. Some people compare it to seasonal flu. Alas, that is not right.
That's
Owing to
correct.
the lack of immunity, this disease is more dangerous, and it's going to spread further. And I must level with you, level with the British public. More families, many more families, are going to lose loved ones before their time. But as we've said over the last few weeks, we have a clear plan that we are now working through. And we're now getting on to the next phase in that plan, because this is now not just an attempt to contain the disease as far as possible, but to
What's this?
His Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie Gregoire Trudeau are in self-isolation. The PMO says Gregoire Trudeau has been tested for COVID-19 and is awaiting those results. Chief Political Correspondent David Aiken joins us now from Ottawa.
So now we got Justin up there across the border in Canada, and his wife are going in self-quarantine? Does that not read to you guys? Do you not get this feeling? I do. Tom Hanks and wife the other day. So, the elites are not immune to this. The Wuhan monster, like I said, it's bigger than Godzilla. It will take a bite out of your behind.
Good afternoon, David. Obviously, an unfolding situation developing right now. What more do we know at this point?
Yeah, we just learned about this about a half an hour ago, and you're right. So Sophie Gregoire Trudeau was overseas in the UK. She had a speaking engagement there, and when she returned, she started to develop flu-like symptoms, and she has been tested now for COVID-19, and she is in self-isolation. Her husband, the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, is not feeling any symptoms, but he too now is in self-isolation, and he's going to work from home. And of course, this was a big week for the Prime Minister. He's hosting all of the premiers and territorial leaders, some of whom are already in town. Premier Kenny, for example, from Alberta, is giving a speech right now, just a couple of blocks away.
Who you will know by name, Tom Hanks. Academy Award-winning actor Tom Hanks and his wife, the actress Rita Wilson, have announced that they have both tested positive for coronavirus. Tom Hanks announcing it tonight in a tweet, saying the couple, they're in Australia right now, they began to feel tired, like they had colds, some body aches, slight fever. Rita Wilson apparently additionally had some chills. Quote, Rita had some chills that came.
Half America.
This is a really serious
Listen
problem
to
that we
this.
have to take seriously. I mean, people always say, well, the flu, the flu does this, the flu does that. The flu has a mortality of 0.1%. Sure. This has a mortality of 10 times that.
All right, estimates on the mortality rate for this new coronavirus have ranged anywhere from below 1% to 3.4%, slightly higher than the seasonal flu.
And WHO, by the way, came out the other night, 6.8, which is double their 3.4. So, who do you believe? Personally, I say you believe yourselves when you evaluate and watch Healthcare Sucks and go out there and do if you have time to do your research. If not, here it is.
And as the New York Times points out, quote, even a disease with a relatively low death rate, that's the mortality rate, can take a huge toll if enormous numbers of people catch it. Here with us, Dr. Amish Adalja. He's an expert in emergency medicine and infectious diseases. The doctor is also a senior scholar with the Center for Health Security at Johns Hopkins University, Bloomberg School of Public Health. Dr. Adalja, thank you for being with us. This is what people are trying to figure out. Even the mortality rate's obviously greater than the flu, but when we think about these rates, we don't really understand how we get to the numbers that we're getting in terms of the infection of this. This coronavirus, COVID-19, is more infectious than the flu.
Definitely. It definitely seems to be spreading in a pattern that's similar to the flu, but it may be more infectious than the flu. And it's going to attack more people than the flu because we have no population immunity to this. So with the flu, there are antibodies that people develop from the vaccine, from prior infections, but this is a novel coronavirus and it will attack a large amount of the population. Maybe 50% or more will get sick with this because it's totally new.
You and I were talking in the break about viral load. Talk to me about this. There may be carriers have a lot of the virus, and that is what perhaps makes them so infectious?
Yeah, so when you think about how infectious you are to other people, one of the key factors is how much virus you shed. And what we're seeing with this coronavirus in some of the studies is that it is a much higher viral load in your nasal secretions and in your runny noses and your sneezes than, for example, SARS was. And SARS was something that was pretty easily containable once people figured it out. But this is behaving more like the common cold-causing coronaviruses, and that's why we're seeing this accelerated spread all over the world.
What, in your opinion, is the way to fight this? Obviously, we're getting word out there for people to wash their hands and try and, quarantine themselves, seek aid from doctors, use telehealth if they can. But what, from an infectious disease perspective, is the policy prescriptive to putting a halt to the spread of this?
The best thing is to identify those cases and then isolate those cases so they don't spread it to other people. This is similar to what happened in South Korea, where they actually have a low death rate, around 0.6%. That's the best way to do that. If you allow people to be out there mingling with this, you're going to spread it, and it's going to get into people that are high risk, and then you're going to have higher mortality rates. This is something that's going to be hard to contain. It's not containable through travel bans or airport screening or quarantines. This is something where we really have to find the cases, isolate them.
Right. And we have a strange travel ban coming into effect. It's for non-Americans traveling from Europe. I wouldn't have guessed that the virus would make the distinction all that well.
Now, this virus will infect you no matter what country you come from, and we've seen that. There's dozens and dozens of countries now.
And with that, healthcare sucks. We'll be back.